Let's read 1 Peter 2, 18 through 21 together. Servants, be subject to your masters with all respect, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the unjust. For this is a gracious thing when, mindful of God, one endures sorrows while suffering unjustly. For what credit is it if, when you sin and are beaten for it, you endure? But if when you do good and suffer for it, you endure, this is a gracious thing in the sight of God. For to this you have been called, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example, so that you might follow in his steps. So Peter specifically addresses this group of people who he calls servants. Other translations say slaves, depending on the translation. And he commands them to be submissive and respectful to their masters, even those who were unjust. And then he encouraged them by saying, when you do that, this is a gracious and beautiful thing in the sight of God. And he says, why? Because you're following in the pathway and the steps of Jesus by choosing faithfulness to God over a pain-free life. That's what he's saying. Now, there is so much to cover here, but I want to briefly address the fact that Peter is telling slaves to submit to their masters. I want to address this because it's not just Peter. Paul says basically the same thing in the book of Ephesians and Colossians. Now, and I think you're going to see really clearly from the text on your own in a second that the best equivalent today is the employer-employee dynamic, but it's really, really crucial you and I understand how the Bible addresses slavery. It's really important we understand this because addressing slavery would be important no matter what. Just understand what Peter is saying. No matter our time, no matter our context, if we're going to understand what Peter's saying, we understand what he means by slaves submit to your masters. But listen, it's especially important for us. It's especially important for us because we live in a country that was built on the back of the horrific slave trade and subjugation of an entire race of people for hundreds of years. And this atrocity, it continues to shape every one of us in all sorts of powerful ways. And then on top, if that wasn't enough, on top of that, this text and texts like it were used to promote, propagate, and spiritualize the practice of slavery.